So I'm going to talk about a buck that I hunted this year in 2015 that I did not get. It was a pretty neat encounter, but basically what happened was I did a lot of summer shining like I normally do. It's legal here in Wisconsin, and I caught a group of bucks out in the field, and they were in the beans, and I knew kind of where they were coming, where they were going. I did a lot of shining, caught them coming and going, and I knew what bedding area they were most likely in. So after I started looking at some maps, trying to figure out how I was going to get in there undetected, I decided I would try a morning hunt. So I actually, the night before the season started, I got my kayak all loaded up, threw it in the truck, and that morning I got out bright and early, got in the tree before it was light, and the tree was actually right over the top of the bed. I took some pictures of the bed and the sign all around the bed. So when I got there in the morning, I thought for sure he was going to be coming in if I had not bumped him. And as I sat there for quite a while, I could hear some deer coming in the dark, and then as it got light, I caught some tines out in front of me in the brush, and they ended up bedding down behind some dogwood. So I knew exactly where he bedded down, so I took my phone and snapped a whole bunch of pictures of where he was and made a mental note of what tree I was going to sit in when the night came. And that night, I was able to actually sneak around or get around on him, and that night I got in there real early and set up on him. So after I snapped all the pictures of where he was laying, I made that mental note, and then I slowly got down, slowly crept out of there, because I didn't know if he could see me in the cattails or not. But I took my time, the cattails were over my head, so that helped, and just went really slow. And those deer, they do tolerate a little noise in the cattails. They don't know if it's another deer or what it is. But I got back to the kayak, got out of there. And that night, I got around on the deer, and it was super windy, which helped. And I was back in probably by noon, and it took me about 2 hours to get all set up. I took my time, so every time I would have a wind gust, I would move, and then when the wind would stop, I would wait, and when the wind would blow, I would move again. So I really took my time, and I got within probably 30 to 40 yards of that deer. And when he finally did get up, it was about 2 hours later. I saw him get up, and I could catch his tines moving in the cattails. He started working his way away from me. And it was a pretty neat encounter. You can actually see it in some of the first few pages of the 2015 live thread on the Beast. But he started moving his way away from me, and just when I thought it wasn't going to happen, some does actually came out on the side of me, and he came busting out to see what they were. And now in this video you're about to see, a lot of people will look at this video and say, well, the buck was making a scrape, and he was working licking branch, and he was chasing these does. They must have been in heat, or something must have been going on, but they weren't. That's very normal to see right outside of a bedding area like that. A buck always has a scrape, or almost always has a scrape, that they're freshening, checking over and over. So if you can find that scrape right next to a bed, you know you've got a pretty good buck bed there. So he ended up coming out. Take a look at this video.
the shot looked great, so I don't know why he ran, crashed, and then ran further, so I don't know what the deal is, but we'll find out, I guess.
So after I shot him, I ended up never recovering that deer, and I would say about a month later I got some trail cam pictures of him. He was back in the same area, using the same spot. I was kind of waiting for the right wind, the right everything to happen to get back in after him. I ended up killing a different deer, so I never did get back in after him. But he was shot on a deer drive in almost the exact spot. He was with a doe, so just a little off to the side, but he was shot on a deer drive. And the wound ended up being a little bit high, and I think what ended up happening was when that deer was standing in the grass, the grass covered part of his belly. So I ended up shooting a little high and a little forward. I didn't judge where that shoulder was, because usually you can kind of follow that leg up and you know right where to put your pin. So I ended up aiming in the wrong spot, I guess, long story short. Never got him, and a neighbor ended up killing him. It found my broadhead in him. It actually started working its way out of the neck, which is kind of unusual because you can see in the video he was almost perfectly broadside, so I don't know if the deer's body was just pushing that foreign body out of it or what, but nonetheless it was a neat opportunity, neat deer. Ended up being a 3.5-year-old. Wasn't a huge rack, but real massive, real tight rack, which was pretty cool. But congratulations to the guy that ended up getting him.